And when we start at 12:05, then you start the recording. Nishant?
Yes, ma'am.
Me taking lectures in your classes. But today I'm here to introduce HR College to all of you. So may I request Anahita to please start the presentation. Yeah. Next slide, please. Yes. So welcoming all FYs to this brilliant journey that you're going to embark on. Here I am today to take you through a little bit about HR College, the college that you're going to be very proudly be associated with for the rest of your life. With a history of over 60 years, HR College students have excelled all over the world in all domains, including the corporate sector and the non-profit communities as well. Now, HR College has become one of the lead constituent colleges under the prestigious HSNC University. The strength of HR College lies in its extracurricular activities along with the excellent academic standards that our students are always achieving. Under the leadership of our principal, Dr. Pooja Ramchandani, this magnificent all-round culture at HR College has scaled new heights. And I would like to thank Dr. Pooja Ramchandani, principal in charge of HR College, for allowing us to have this session today. The students of HR have been the pride of the college because each and every one of them has achieved monumental success in whatever area that they have chosen for themselves. We are joined by one such student today, Mr. Vedant Bharti. Before Anahita formally introduces him, there's something that I would like to say about him. Vedant has been one of those students who has always been an innovative thinker in the classroom, a problem solver in all club activities, and an excellent orator. But above all, the distinguishing characteristic about Vedant has been that he has been extremely humble and very respectful as a student. Today, I'm so happy to be sitting in one of his lectures, and I'm here ready to take all notes with my pen and my diary. So I think we should start the session without any more ado. And I request Anahita to please introduce the guest for today, Mr. Vedant Bharti.
A very good afternoon to one and all present here. I'm Anahita Hirani, a current TYBMS student at HR College of Commerce and Economics. It is truly said by Seth Godin, there is no shortage of remarkable ideas. What's missing is the will to execute them. But amongst us, we have one such aspiring person who couldn't be able to relate to this quote. With that, I'd like to introduce you all to Mr. Vedant Bharti, who is currently the founder at Retail Gateway. He was a graduate from HR College of Commerce and Economics, doing his master's in business management and bachelor's in management studies. As a person, he is what we call the magic of leadership. He makes things happen. He gained his experiences at various companies, a few of them being the Omnicon Media Group, KPMG, Deloitte, and Edelweiss Financial Services. At his company, he has been able to work towards building a tech platform to disrupt and democratize the current retail environment and create the Airbnb model for alternative retail locations. They help consumer brands explore retail cost effectively and conveniently. Their model is a store within a store concept that piggybacks on unused spaces of existing retail outlets. They plan to monetize all types of retail and non-retail real estate and list the existing spaces within the stores, malls, restaurants, and hotels on their AI-based tech platform. He has been an outstanding student not only in the field of academics, but also in sports, representing the state for basketball, and won the runner-up prize at Mahindra's Western Indian Golf Association tournament. It's truly a pleasure to have you with us here today, sir. I'm hoping my introduction for you has done enough justice to your exceptional background. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Anahita. Thanks a lot, Kanupriya ma'am. I think that was a great introduction. Yeah, so all in all, I'd just like to begin by saying that I was like one of y'all only a couple of years back. And I still remember my first days into HR college, although it's much different for you. like we had a brilliant time in HR college, participating in a bunch of club activities as well as academic activities, and a great experience all in all. Met some amazing people, and we are all very much in touch, in fact, with our professors as well as our friends, even though it's been a couple of years since we graduated from college. So thanks a lot for the introduction. I'll get into my presentation. Just a little bit about what I'm trying to talk about today and what I expect out of y'all. If everyone can just open their chat box, and if they can just see if they can find where the chat box is. I'll be asking you all a couple of questions. I'll be asking you all to participate, so you all can participate through the chat box. Alternatively, if y'all can, is the raise hand function enabled? Just wanted to check.
Yes, they can raise their hands and we will unmute them when they raise their hands.
Sure. So alternatively, if I ask you something, or if you'll have any questions or anything, y'all can use the raise hand function. Y'all can just raise your hand and we'll unmute you all and y'all can then speak. Hope that's okay for everyone. And another thing, this is not a lecture. This is not, you're not going to get any theory out of this. This is not, it's more of a learning experience. It's more for you to understand a concept or understand a couple of concepts. And maybe it's of use to you, if not in college, but later on in life, but hopefully it'll be of use to you. So that's the objective. Don't treat this like a lecture. Don't try and like mug anything or try and remember anything. Just try and understand as much as possible. I'll share my screen now and show my presentation. Is my screen visible?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So today we'll I'll speak a little bit and highlight a little bit about consumer goods and the innovation in consumer goods. The entire consumer goods market is a huge market, and what we've noticed is that this is only going to get bigger, and it's going to become, there's no stopping the consumer goods market, right? Just so you all know what consumer goods are and who is a consumer, all of us are consumers in some form or the other, okay? So anything that we purchase, any good, service, anything that we use are consumer goods. Simple, quite simple. But there are a lot of innovations that are happening every day in the segment, okay? Including technology being introduced in the segment, including different business models being introduced, different types of execution happening. Everything is changing very quickly, and it's happening at a rapid pace. So keeping in touch with what is happening in the consumer space is important, because all of us are consumers at the end of the day. Okay, so 1 second. Yeah, so I'm going to start off by something of a small pop-up quiz for y'all, and I want you all to use the chat box to answer the questions. They're very simple questions. Okay, I see someone's raised their hand already. Great. If you can use the chat box, if you can type in the answers, it'll be great. All right.
They're already typing the answer.
Yeah, very smart. So great. Someone mentioned The Founder, the movie. Yeah, so this is McDonald's. This actually was one of the first, this is how one of the first restaurants looked like of McDonald's. And the idea was, the founders, they wanted, when people drive by a city, they see those huge golden arches that you see, and they're attracted to the restaurant. So this is how McDonald's looked earlier. So anyway, now we're moving on to the next question. Keep yourselves ready on the chat box. So these are two guys. The person on top is an Austrian person. The person below is a Thai person. The guy from Austria flew to Thailand, and he had a really bad jet lag. And he didn't know how to get rid of that. So he went to a small medicine store and he bought this drink. As all of you are guessing, it's Red Bull. Uh, just to tell you all a little bit about Red Bull. Red Bull is one of the most innovative marketing companies that you've ever seen. You see a few Red Bull ads on TV, that's it, but you don't see them advertising as much on regular channels. They always are pushing the boundaries for marketing. They own football clubs, they own Formula One teams. That's how they market their energy drink. They sent a man to space 100,000 feet above space and asked him to free fall just so that they can break records. They can be known across the world for their the records they break, and that's how Red Bull's known. That's correct. IPL jersey. They sponsor the Rajasthan Royals team as well. So moving on, third question. So this picture that you see over here, it's the Watsons Hotel. It's in Mumbai. It was in Mumbai. Mr. Jamshedji Tata was supposed to go to meet someone at this hotel, and sadly, it said only whites are allowed. So he was not allowed into this hotel. So in retaliation, he created one of the most architectural, beautiful buildings in Bombay. It is definitely the Taj Mahal Palace Hotel in Bombay. Great, everyone's getting the answers. Wow, I think I should have made it a little tougher. So the third one, the fourth one, sorry. Who is the most followed sports person on Instagram? I'll give you all a little bit to answer. There seem to be two answers coming. Okay. Across the world, it's Cristiano Ronaldo with around 240 million Instagram followers. Many of y'all said Virat Kohli. Just to tell you all a little bit about Virat Kohli, he apparently, it's reported that he earned around 3 crores just during the lockdown on Instagram. It's a huge sum of money, and Instagram is a very powerful tool to influence people, to market products, and it really is an amazing platform for people to use. Influencer marketing is one of the biggest things that is upcoming in digital marketing, and yeah, I think a lot of money to be made there as well. Next question. Which famous chocolate brand has the logo of a bear hidden in the Matterhorn mountain, symbolizing its town of origin? I put the bear, which almost gives it away, but yep, most of you all have got it right. It's Toblerone. Great, everyone's participating. This is great. I'll move to the next question. This is a logistics behemoth company that has a tagline that says absolutely, positively overnight, which symbolizes how quickly they can get your package across. Yeah, I think I gave it away again with this hint. It is FedEx. So the Shri Mahila Griha Udyog, it owns this famous food brand where they employ around 40,000 women and have a turnover of about 800 crores. All Sindhis love this, and yes, that's correct. It was started with, I think, sum of 800 rupees, the company. It's Lijjat Papad. Moving on, the company Bata, very famous here. Everyone's heard of Bata. Where is it from? I'll give you all some time to answer this. Yes, it's Czech Republic. Great. So, yeah, I think that ends the quiz. Everyone's awake. It's great to see everyone participating. Uh, Let me now move into a little bit of content that I want to cover. I have a very short presentation that I'm going to take you all through, and just want you all to pay a little attention. Thanks. So first we'll cover something called consumer goods and what consumer goods are, what companies are part of consumer goods. Let's see that a little bit, okay? So simple, a product that is bought for consumption by a consumer is a consumer good. There are a list of various products that could be bought. So it's one of the largest sectors in the Indian economy, the fourth largest to be very frank, and it contributes a major part to the GDP as well. So all major companies are consumer facing. Most of them are consumer facing. Okay. India is a high growth market for consumer good products. It's because of the growing awareness, the way internet has penetrated into the country. It's become incredibly easy for people to buy stuff either online, through retail stores, through other mediums, and as well as a lot of aspirational aspects that are there. So people, the middle class always would like to buy something like aspirational, right? Similar to the rural areas, a lot of aspirational lifestyle changes that are happening. So a couple of examples of consumer good items would be food products, packaged food products, FMCG products, beverages, household items, personal care items, right? So how does it get divided in the consumer goods segment, right? So food and beverages contributes to about 19% of the consumer goods segment, and healthcare about 30%. Household and personal care is a massive portion, which is about 50%, right? So this is a major point over here to be noted is that if you notice, most consumer good products we use without thinking too much, but we are actually being targeted by these brands. These brands are reaching out to us, they're telling us, they're throwing out their message, and unknowingly we are buying a lot of things, right? Your mom, your dad, they happen to be bulk, they take the bulk of the decision making. So they happen to be the main primary consumers, and slowly it'll change. And like right now, you all have reached a decision making stage as well. And most consumer good brands try and position their products to a certain target group. So you'll see a lot of brands targeting different segments. So some of the big consumer good companies, which are some of the largest companies in the country, they're part of the Nifty, they're one of the largest market caps in the country: ITC Limited, Britannia, Hindustan Unilever, and Nestle. So these are some brands that I've put up on ITC. You see Ashirwad, the Atta company, Sunfeast, Biscuits, Bingo Chips, Be Natural Juice, Yippee Noodles. You see all these brands is just owned by one company. Okay, and this is just one part of their business. So Hindustan Unilever happens to be the biggest FMCG company. Can some of you all list some of the brands that Hindustan Unilever owns? Anyone in the chat box, feel free. Any brands that HUL owns? Great. Dove. Someone said Dove. Great. Yeah, just throw in your ideas, whatever you think HUL owns. Okay. So just see how many brands HUL owns. Okay. I've listed down for you all. They literally cover every spectrum of a consumer's life. Okay, like every spectrum of the life cycle of a consumer. They cover right from deodorants to shampoos to food, ice cream, detergents, tea, every possible thing. HUL has something to do with it. Okay, and if you notice how the brands that Nestle has, really limited, but they're also one of the largest companies. Okay, so look at the type of brands that Nestle has, look at the type of brands HUL has and ITC. Very different, targeting different types of customers, targeting different different life cycles of the consumer. Okay, so I wanted to ask anyone if anyone would be interested in volunteering to uh, let's take one product and let's go through the life cycle of that product to understand how someone can come up with the product. Does anyone want to volunteer? You can raise your hand, you can write in the chat box. Can we unmute them?
Vedant, there are some people
Yeah.
in the waiting room. Should we allow them?
Sure, ma'am, not a problem. Anyone,
Okay, so
everyone's welcome.
okay, so a lot of people are there who are waiting. They're messaging me as well. I
Sure,
think
sure. I'll pause for a second and let them come.
so. Host, can you allow some people in? The people who are in the waiting room only. And I think someone has said willing to volunteer. That is Neil Patira, so that you can continue with after people are in. Host, let me know when you're done, so then Vedant can restart.
Ma'am, there's no one in the waiting room. There was this one girl I've already let her in.
No,
Okay.
I unlocked the room. There are like 4 people there.
Okay, so are we done?
Yeah.
Unlocked only.
Yeah, we're done.
Okay, so now we can lock it again.
Okay, great. So Neil, if we can unmute Neil, that'll be great. Neil, can you raise your hand? I think a couple of people are still joining. I'll wait for a bit. And in the meantime, Neil, if you can raise your hand, we'll unmute you.
Okay, so I've logged the meeting again.
And please switch off the annotations.
Ma'am, that only it's possible. Ishan.
Okay, please I request
Hi,
you not
how
to
are
discuss
you?
the meeting.
Hi, Neil. Ma'am, can I
Hi,
continue?
Vedant, how are you?
Sure. Hi, Neil. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
All okay. So Neil, let's take one product. Okay. Let's take,
Yeah.
say, a chocolate. Okay. And let's try and understand the product life cycle of the chocolate. Okay.
Sure.
So if the idea is that you're producing this chocolate today. Okay. Let's say it's a munch. You're producing it. How would you go about it? What would be some of the things that you would require to begin at least?
First of all, I will think about what market I'm catering to.
Okay.
So,
So you do a market research, you'll understand who is your market, what is your target market, correct?
yeah.
Okay.
Then,
Neil, let's move into more of the production part of it. So what would you need to actually make the product, right? So say it's a chocolate. So
yeah.
what would you first require?
First, I think I will require all the raw materials,
Correct.
all the products, and I think even the a few personnel to manufacture it, machines and everything.
Right. So, like you mentioned, first you'll require to get the raw materials. You'll require to get the people. So that is the manufacturing part of it. Okay.
Yeah.
So that would be the first step. But prior to that, you would first require some money. You'd have to raise it either via equity or via debt financing. Okay. One of the
Correct.
options that you have. You'd have to raise that money and then you'd use it to get personal raw materials and get everything in place in terms of manufacturing. So once you
Yeah.
manufacture the product, say you have a finished good with you, like you have one chocolate, what would you do with it now?
Then I think the next step is to decide the price
Okay.
of the chocolate. So I think I will first have to study about what my alternate goods are priced at. Like suppose if I am manufacturing Munch, then I will also have to ascertain what price does Dairy Milk or say a 5-star sells at. So, in order to instantly attract more consumers than them.
Right. Okay. So, but say you have you've manufactured the chocolate now and it's lying in your manufacturing facility. What would you then take it somewhere else, or would you let it be there? Would you ensure that it's packed, kept somewhere? In terms of that, would that be your next step?
Yeah, I think that should be the next step, and also deciding the supply chain rather.
Right.
So how should I send it to different places, supermarkets, shops, and which will be a reliable as well as a more time-proven source.
Right. So I think what you would do is the next step, like you mentioned, would be to find a warehouse and to manage the inventory in that warehouse. So you'd have to store that inventory in the warehouse, right?
Yes.
After that, once the inventory is there, you'd have to also understand what to do about your fulfillment. Okay, fulfillment in the sense when there is an order, when there is distribution in place. Before that, you'll have to understand how would you pack it, what would
Yeah.
you do in order to label it properly. You know, how would you send it across? Shipping and fulfillment is a major part of the supply chain,
Yeah.
right? So this is in terms of the production part of it. But then moving on, we go to the sales part of it, right? In
Correct.
terms of sales, now you've made the product, you have the product line, it's ready to be shipped. Now, how do you get people to know about your product? How do you increase the sales? How do you increase the brand awareness? Let's talk a little bit about that. Any ideas?
I think through advertising, through newspapers or any form of digital media, or say
अभी
pamphlets,
तो है ना 12 बजे
billboards,
Okay.
क्या
a bit expensive process if advertised through billboards, but I think it also has
So,
the maximum reach.
so marketing is what you're talking about, marketing
Yeah.
and advertising, right? So that would be the next step in order to get the word out. You then
Yes.
monetize on that and increase your sales, right? On based on
Yeah.
that marketing. After that, another important thing that you'd have to look at is what is the customer experience and what is the customer service that you're providing, right?
Yeah.
If the product isn't good, who looks after it? Are there return policies? What goes into that? Okay, who is there to look after
Mm.
those kind of things? That is another important aspect that you look after. Thanks, Neil, for volunteering. And I'll just
Thanks a
show you
lot.
all this slide that I've prepared. So production wise, there's financing options. So you'll have to decide what are your financing options. Manufacturing wise, your raw materials, where once you get the finances, what do you spend it on? Raw materials, people, trying to understand those kind of things and spending it over there. Then you would put it in a warehouse and you try and manage your inventory, fulfillment, shipment, right? That is your entire production process. In terms of sales, you think about it, there's marketing, promotions, advertisements. If it's digital, it's digital. If it's through regular traditional marketing channels, it's traditional. It could be a variety of
Yeah.
things. This will help you pump up the sales, and customer experience is something very important that will also enable customers to go towards your product, move towards your product, buy the product, increase sales. And to look
Yes.
after the customer and post sales, it would be customer service. So this is a typical, a basic supply chain. There are many other aspects that that are part of this, but this is an overall view as to what the supply chain looks like. Guys, whoever's writing on the screen or drawing on the screen, please don't. So next I want to get into how do you get that demand, okay? How do you generate that demand? So you reduced a how do you get people to buy it? Okay, like you can tell people that come buy my product. You can advertise about it. You can do a lot of things, but how do you actually generate the demand? Okay, it's very important to understand that. So just to give you all a little brief on these things, you must have noticed during COVID, a lot of your relatives, your friends, all of them have suddenly turned into home bakers and home cooks, and everyone's putting up their dishes on WhatsApp, on Instagram, everywhere, right? So, do you think those are sustainable businesses? Okay, like they're definitely businesses, but do you think they're sustainable? How do you scale such a business, right? Is it possible? Please write on the chat box if you all know. If say you have a home cook who's making one dish
What?
at home, baking a cake, how would they try and
You
scale
start.
this business up, right? So just to just to give you a little brief, okay, Amazon and Flipkart, who would you all choose? Like, if you all had the option between Amazon and Flipkart, which one would you all choose? Okay, everyone's written Amazon. There's no one with Flipkart. Anyone know why? Why Amazon? Why do you all choose Amazon? Okay. Okay, a bunch of reasons. Okay, let's move forward. Zomato versus Swiggy. Who would you choose and why? Okay. Nice. Let's move to Uber versus Ola. Guys, I want the reason also. Why did you all choose this, or why do you all use this service? Okay. How many of you all have used Google Pay or Paytm? Which one would you all choose? Okay, got it. So just to get you all to understand what has happened right now, okay, like y'all have chosen one out of two, right? I'm pretty certain that not many of y'all have both the applications in each of the segments, right? Most of y'all have one of them only. So even I have only one of each of these applications, right, within each segment. So what actually happens here is, think about it as, I think most of y'all are aware how a stock market works, right? Or like you must have heard your parents talking about the stock market, or like thinking like you must have read in the news or something. So usually people end up buying a stock when it's doing good, right? When it's doing good in the sense when it's profitable, when its margins are good, when those kind of things are positive for the company, a person would buy the stock, assuming that it grows, the stock price increases, and you sell the stock, right? You make a profit over there. Simple, right? Very simple. None of these companies, let's take Zomato for example. Okay, they're loss-making companies. Okay, Zomato is one of the biggest loss-making companies. They reported a loss of around 1100 crores in FY19, right? It's unheard of that such kind of losses are unheard of, but still a lot of investors, okay, a lot of investors are putting in thousands of crores to fund Zomato, right? Can anyone tell me why would someone do that? The company is losing money every year, right? Why would someone put money into Zomato? I'm going to wait for some answers to come in. Right. Okay. So a lot of y'all have written future profits or future prospects or those kind of things, which is partially correct. But how, like, let's try and understand a little bit on how that works. Okay. How many of y'all used Google Pay when it came out? And who got, like, what was the highest number that you got in that scratch card or the cashback? Anyone who got like a big sum of money on Google Pay? Right? So I remember when I got it, I got a 150 rupee scratch card. Okay. And someone who's been using it right now, can someone tell me how much do they get right now on your scratch cards? First of all, most of them are better luck next time. 1 in 5, 6 would probably give you like a 4, 5, 6 rupee kind of cashback, right? Right. So what I'm trying to tell you here is that these companies, they're acquiring customers, okay? Their role in using that fund or raising that fund and using it, and why it's loss making, is because they're using it to acquire a customer. So what they do is Google Pay gives you that cash back in the beginning. You get onto the app, and then once you've been acquired, they they know that they've got the customer on board, so they reduce the cashbacks, they reduce all those things. Similarly, Zomato, if you notice, uh, things have, like, the delivery price was, the delivery charged to the consumer was much higher, much lower earlier. Suddenly, slowly, they've improved it. They've made it some amount. They've put it 25, 35, 45, whatever it is, depending on the distance. So Zomato is using that money to acquire a customer, okay? Because what they aim to do is they aim to keep you through your entire lifetime. So if you see on top, it's written CAC, right? That's customer acquisition cost. It is the cost that a company pays to acquire a customer. And what they do is, once they acquire you, what CLV is, customer lifetime value. They try and understand what your lifetime value would be, okay? So how long would you live for approximately? And during your lifetime, how many times would you use their app? What kind of revenues will you generate? And how will it be profitable for the company? So that is a simple overview explanation of what CAC and CLV is. The calculations we can go into later, not really required right now. I just want you all to understand the concept that this is how companies acquire customers, and then this is how they calculate that, I can lose so much money, but it'll end up being profitable for me later on, maybe 5 years down the line, because the lifetime value of all these customers is going to come into play only then, right? So this is a little bit about demand generation, and this is how companies generate demand and generate it on a large scale as well, right? Next, a little bit about marketing and advertising. This is in terms of the sales part of it, not the production part of it. So a little bit, can anyone tell me a little bit what they know of what marketing is or what advertising is? Just a couple of words. Don't write any definitions or anything big, just something simple. Okay, someone says search engine optimization, creating awareness. Fair enough, right? So it's communicating, creating awareness, bringing about the message of the company to consumers, promoting the product, advertising about it. And the goal of marketing, one is brand awareness, goodwill. Those things are nice to have. But the ultimate goal of marketing is, of course, to generate sales for the company, right? It's supposed to increase the sales. That's the bottom line. So, India, like it's mentioned on the slide as well, India is a split between urban and rural, right? So you have about 45% contribution to the FMCG industry from the rural sector, right? So can marketing be the same for urban and rural? Can you use the same types of marketing? You can't, right? It doesn't make sense. Someone sitting in a village in India will not be able to comprehend what the same marketing message is being put across to someone in an urban area, right? So there are different ways to go about rural marketing, and different types of people have tried solving this problem. One is building your supply chain to those areas, to those remote areas, which big companies like HUL, big companies like ITC, they've literally gone to the grassroots, spent time in the villages, spent a lot of money also to just get that supply chain in place before they start pushing their products, right? So rural marketing is a very important thing, where you actually try and market those products to a different segment of customers completely, okay? And this is very important, because what has been noticed right now is that the rural market is growing faster than the urban market. Consumption has increased for rural customers. They're demanding more branded products. They really are demanding right now because they want to be one with the urban people as well, right? People are moving to metro cities, people are seeing things, and most of all, it's the internet that has given people in the remotest of areas accessibility to all these things. There are a lot of interesting companies. There's a company called Boonbox in the rural space. They're a rural e-commerce website. So Amazon and Flipkart and all, although they do deliver to rural areas, but they're not actually for the rural areas, right? They're not built for rural spaces. So this company, actually what they do is they put up stalls in these villages where someone from the village helps and promotes these products and generates sales for the company. They have a call center with people that can speak 46 languages because they get calls from all across the country. So these are innovative ideas, okay, that can be part of the rural marketing space and that are part of it as well. So as you see that a lot of consumers currently are in the offline or in the traditional market, nothing has completely moved onto the online space, right? Although out of 700 billion, around 3% is the online channels contribution, which is a huge amount as well. But what we've understood is people still trust going to a retail store. People still trust going out to a mall, going to the Kirana store. Those kind of things are still in place, right? And most probably in India, it would take a lot of time to change that. And it will take a lot of time for that change to move where the online channels increase their market share. So digital marketing plays a big role in terms of online channels. Okay, so all of you all know about social media marketing. We spoke about Cristiano Ronaldo. We spoke about Virat Kohli. They're huge influencers on social media. Okay? You have other types of social media marketing as well, which is your paid marketing. You have different channels within social media. Facebook, you have Instagram. People are now starting to use LinkedIn. People are starting to use different forms. Yeah, like you said, YouTube, TikTok is being used, different social media channels. Email marketing, very straightforward. Search engine optimization. Every time you type some things on Google, what comes up first using Google AdWords. Those are some types of digital marketing that works, right? What happens in terms of a company like Reliance that has, so I'm just going to explain what integrated planning is. So Reliance has how many brands under it, how many companies under it. Say they acquire a customer under their financial services segment. How do they sell some other product to them? So they have to build an integrated plan for all Reliance customers so that once a customer is onboarded, they can upsell different products to them, right? So once I'm a customer of a financial service product, say about a mutual fund, okay, I then use different forms, like I try and get that customer's detail and understand what his financial position is, what target market did he fall in, and then upsell different products to him. I can then sell probably a retail product to him, or probably some advertisements to him. So those kind of things are very important in terms of large companies. Integrated planning is very important. Okay, so SEO, someone mentioned search engine optimization. Yes, it's one of the most important things currently. SEO and Google AdWords really is important for every business, be it B2B, be it B2C, it's extremely important. Technology plays a major role in marketing and advertisement, right? And technology has helped marketing and advertising grow, and it's also helped it improve in a lot of ways. So definitely increase in revenue, helping the brand presence better. It makes things more efficient. Customers at the center, they're getting personalized attention through technology. And it obviously gives you a competitive advantage if you're doing it right. You get a competitive advantage over your other competitors. You get a loyal customer, and your brand is ready to survive the market. this is a little bit about marketing and advertisement. I'll move on. I'll show you a little video, and I want you all to see it and try and see how effectively marketing has been used and how effectively a campaign has been carried out. And we'll discuss it after you see this video.
Nike is relaunching the Paris 10-kilometer race with two major objectives: attracting a younger generation of runners and to be the most visible race among a dozen of other 1, 5, 10-kilometer events held in Paris every year. In order to meet these two objectives, we inspired a new generation of athletes by creating the world's first socially connected 10-kilometer course. We Run Paris is a multi-platform campaign. It allows runners to sign up online, but also runners can create a unique personal running experience by linking the RFID timing chip on their shoe to their Facebook profile. As they run, no type of profile directly from their feed. Here's how it works. When the race starts, competitors' friends receive an update on their Facebook feed. At key points along the course, two gates allow runners to share the way they feel at this stage of the race. Feeling fine, and their friends get the update. Or, if runners have felt better, friends can see that too. And of course, when your run is complete, everyone will be able to share the buzz. This is the first time that timing chips and RFID technology has been used in this way. After the race, the runners can connect to Facebook, discover the time, download their arrival picture, and share it with their friends, continuing the story of their run, their 10 kilometers, their Paris.
So that was We Run Paris. That was a campaign carried out in 2011, right? This is another video. It's I'll tell you all a little bit about it. I hope it plays, but otherwise I'll tell you all a little bit about it. So this is an app that Nike has again designed. What they understood is that when you're buying online, getting a shoe size right is very difficult, right? You want to try your shoe to get to know that whether it fits you well, what is the way, how does it fit you, those kind of things. So they've used artificial intelligence and they've used augmented reality, AR and AI, so that you put your feet in front of your camera and it scans your feet and gives you an exact shoe size for you to buy the correct shoe, right? Just want to know a little bit from y'all. The first video that you all saw, the We Run Paris one, right? What do you think, like, was the objective of the video, and what do you think were those objectives met? How did it happen? Like, do you think that people just do marketing for the sake of it, just to get the brand out there? Or do you think you need to put an objective to it and achieve those objectives, right? So no, it wasn't to promote athleticism. It was to promote the 10-kilometer run to a younger audience. What they realized was that a younger audience, the youngsters, the youth, were like the numbers that were participating in marathons was decreasing, right? So they then wanted to get the youngsters more involved, and that's why they ran this campaign. Just showing you a little bit on how you track these objectives also, because it's very important that you do marketing and you track the objectives. If there are no objectives to track, it doesn't make sense, okay, to do marketing. You need to have proper objectives, okay? Like say, for example, why is Dream 11 sponsoring the IPL? Why do you think Dream 11 is sponsoring the IPL? Why did they spend so many 100 crores, whatever, 226 crores or whatever to sponsor the IPL? What is the reason? What is their objective? What is the objective of CRED to sponsor the IPL? It's to increase the number of downloads. It's to increase the spend of people. It's to acquire customers. Again, it goes to customer acquisition, right? So those are all ways you acquire a customer. So that's why Dream 11 spends so much. That's why CRED spends so much on IPL. And that's why, so let's try and see what Nike's objectives were and were they able to achieve those objectives, right? So the objective was to increase the attendance of younger athletes in their 10K run. What were the results after they ran this Facebook campaign with the RFID chips? 34% increase in runners after 25 years, under 25 years. Okay, 72% had never even run a 10K before. And they sold out all 5,000 entries in a record time. Okay, this is amazing, right? They were able to achieve their objectives. Can you all tell me why would they target younger athletes? Like, why would they look at targeting younger athletes? What is the reason? Because either way, the 5,000 entries would have been sold by older athletes. So why were they targeting younger athletes? What's the reason? Come on, think. Everyone think. Let's get some more answers in. Yeah, I got one good answer. Vikrant. Yeah, that's a good answer. So they've realized that younger athletes would probably they would have a longer lifespan, probably. And if they have a longer lifespan, they would end up, if they start running at an early age, they would continue running over the duration of their lifespan. During that lifespan, they would more likely buy more than one pair of shoes. And when they have to buy that pair of shoes, they should come to Nike, right? That's the objective of having a younger audience, targeting a younger audience. CLV, correct. So what do you think are some innovations that are happening in the space, some interesting innovations? Let's see a couple of them. I have this video, hopefully it plays. Yeah. So what you just saw is something called mixed reality. Okay, there's a company in India that does this, in fact, and it could be very relevant during COVID, given the fact that there are not going to be too many concerts, there are not going to be too many people performing outside, and entertainment would always be a part of our lives, right? So this is something called mixed reality, where it's not virtual reality and it's not complete reality. It's a mix of both of them, where you have that's just a projection of a person playing the guitar and performing live. Okay, it could be put anywhere in any place, and the opportunities are endless, right? It could be anywhere. Bose, for example, the Bose Mumbai showroom. How do you think they get you to experience Bose? They have a room that they take you in. They put you in that room. They make you hear a 4-minute clip. Yes, the lounge, you got it right. They make you hear a 4-minute clip, and then they make you hear it through the Bose experience. And there's a huge difference in the sound quality, the sound clarity. You immediately experience these things. Okay, these things are supposed to be experienced, and that gives the consumer a higher chance of buying a product as well. Harman Kardon, that owns JBL, they have a similar thing. They have a touchpad on their console where you can choose different speakers and hear the different types of speakers and the quality. Emirates, the picture on the right, top right, that is their first class lounge. They installed something similar at Phoenix Mills in Mumbai, where you got to experience what it feels like flying first class, right? These are Hypercity is another company that is trying to go completely cashierless. They've already installed two systems similar to this in Hyderabad, where what they're trying to do is build an Amazon Go model, where there are no cashiers, there are no people working in the retail store. People just go pick up what they want, scan it, and exit. You get charged directly to your card. Big Basket has something called Big Basket Go that they've started in a lot of residential complexes. Really great use of technology in the retail sector. Okay. This is a video. I don't think I'll show this. It's a video of Niffler. It's similar to a Big Basket, the Hypercity model that I was talking about. If you can see that every fridge has a scanning machine right next to it. You just have to tap your card on it. you can pick up what you want. If you don't want to, if you picked it up and you get charged, you can put it back and again deduct it from your basket. Very innovative, completely cashierless, completely, there are no people involved over here. You just go in and come out. It's very simple, straightforward. It's the future of retail. Some other things that we've noticed in the sector and how it's supposed to change and how it's going to change and what are the new things that are coming up in the sector, right? So everyone loves makeup, everyone loves clothes, fashion, right? This is a 3D mirror that you literally put it in front of you. You can try different makeup on. You don't need to put it actually. You can literally try it on the screen and see how it works. Similarly, during COVID, turns out things are going to change, and this may be something for the future where changing rooms have got the mirror similar to this, where you can just swipe and see different clothes, how they look on you, what the fit is like. Gesture-based interfaces, lots of uses for this. It's already being used as rings to control your mobile phones. Flexible displays, again, for the future, they've already been introduced by Samsung. Again, some great integration over here by MasterCard with Samsung. So it literally tracks what's in your fridge. Samsung tracks what's in your fridge. Once things start running out, say you run out of carrots, it automatically places an order and MasterCard swipes your card and the order is placed. You get your carrots the next day. Holographic computing, it uses holograms, the hologram technology to use computers. And something very interesting over here on the bottom right is a Brazilian company that used social media in their retail store. So what you see, the number 01242 is the number of likes on their social media platforms for that particular outfit. Big thing in terms of influencers that push certain clothes or certain fashion items. This could be a completely game changer in the traditional retail segment. So this is what I wanted to talk to you all about. Get to tell you all a little bit about different things that are happening in the industry, what is the future and how it seems to go. There's been a lot of debate about whether retail would be something to look forward to, given the fact that COVID has impacted it a lot. But we all know that one of the biggest retail deals occurred during COVID, Reliance Retail and Future Group. So Reliance has made an offer to purchase Future Group. These things are happening because they see a future in retail, right? In the traditional retail as well as in the online retail. So retail is not going to go anywhere. Consumer goods are only going to increase with the increasing population and with the increase of social media as well as the internet penetration in the country, right? What we need to be aware of is how to think about brands, how they're targeting us, how we can better get the correct brands across to us, understand better on these aspects, as well as try and look at a little futuristic view, try and see the new technologies that are being integrated in the ecosystem and see how we can integrate with that. Because by the time we all graduate, these things will be very common in the market, right? All these things on the screen will be like something like an everyday use for you all. So you all need to be aware of this and keep yourselves informed. And that's all from my side.
Thank you so much, Vedant.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And I think we have, can we take some questions in the chat box?
Sure. Anyone
So,
have any questions?
whatever questions you have, please type them out in the chat box. We will take a few of them. Unfortunately, we don't have time enough to take all, but we will invite Vedant again. I'm sure he'll oblige.
Yeah, definitely.
So Vedant, whichever questions you feel you want to answer, you can just take them from the chat box.
Sure.
I'll read them out for you if you want.
One second. So what is the success rate of these modern techniques? Very nice question, actually. The success rate of these modern techniques is definite. It's very new to be to give a correct answer to this. But what we've noticed is that the interaction with consumers and the brand has improved far better through these modern techniques, right? Experiential marketing is really helping, where people are interacting with the brand in a better way. They're also able to get in touch, get the brand's message, tell the brand what their needs are, what their wants are, and that is helping a lot in for the brand as well to promote the correct kind of products, make the right changes, and come back to the consumer. One second.
I like this one question one student has posted. Just 1 second. I have to go up. Yeah. So what was your age when you first began Retail Gateway? The calling behind it, a little bit on entrepreneur shoes that you faced. Thanks. So
Right.
I think something which I'm extremely proud. Vedant has launched his own entrepreneurial venture, and this is he'll talk about it now.
Sure. So I'll tell you a little bit about it. Retail Gateway actually is a platform similar to Airbnb. What the idea was to build something similar to Airbnb. So say you have a product. There are thousands and thousands of Indian brands that have an online presence, okay, that are not sold in retail stores, and that probably would get lost on Amazon and Flipkart, okay. So they'll be on the 30th page of an Amazon or a Flipkart. So how do you, their own website doesn't get traction, their own social media would reach a limited number of consumers. So all of them wanted to be in retail, all of them wanted a targeted market. So say, take for example, a restaurant. We noticed that a lot of restaurants in the afternoon were slacking off, right? There was not too much on a weekday afternoon. Most restaurants don't function well. So they have shelves in restaurants. They convert restaurants, like social converts into a co-working space. So why can't we create those shelves into places where these small business owners, small consumer good businesses can place their products and rent it out on a weekly, monthly, or a daily basis, okay? The issue with going to a traditional retail store is that they'd have to block a lot of stock. So they'd have to produce a lot of inventory and block it with that retail store. This was a very exciting time for me to get into this. That was the concept of Retail Gateway. It was very interesting. I've always wanted to start something of my own. And what made me get into it was that we found the solution to a problem. We found a problem and we found the solution. And no one was doing it. At the moment, no one is doing it as well. So we had that niche and we wanted to target it. So that's a little bit about my entrepreneurial journey. Any other questions you see, ma'am?
I think one thing which you could answer for these students is which has more scope, marketing or finance, because I think you've had exposure to both. So do you want to take that one?
Sure. So I did my bachelor's in management studies in finance. Marketing, and I wasn't too concerned about marketing. I was not too interested in college with marketing. I did finance primarily. My first job was with Edelweiss Financial Services, where I did finance again. I was very interested in finance, and I still am. But what I realized when I got into the corporate world is that marketing has a huge scope in terms of, I understood the importance of marketing. So there was a lot of there were a lot of people doing marketing, but I really wouldn't pay too much attention. But I really understood how important marketing is, not only in terms of for a company, but also in terms of to build revenues and for finance itself. Finance is not possible without marketing, to be very frank. And if I had a choice, like I wouldn't decide so fast. You're in your first year. Please don't rush into these decisions of marketing and finance. Get an experience of both and then take a call on what you all want to do.
Yes. So unfortunately, I don't think we have time enough for any more questions. Shall we take one more or?
Anything is fine, ma'am. If there is any question that you see, there are too many for me to read right now.
Yes, I know. I think a lot of people are congratulating you on your startup. And one question, while doing your bachelor's, did you have any plans to become an entrepreneur?
Yeah, it was always my plan. In fact, from school, my first venture was I made chocolate mousse at home and I sold it in school. The second was when DVDs were like when movies were being downloaded on a torrent and those kind of things. I used to try and help people get DVDs for it. After that, in college, also a lot of interesting things me and a couple of my friends had worked on. But we had started a aggregator for hiking and adventure activities. So it was like building a aggregator like Make My Trip, where you can see different camping and adventure activities, and you can compare them and decide which one would be better. So that was something that we had worked on. A couple of things that had been going on all throughout my journey, and finally I think something solid has panned out and worked out. It takes a lot of failed decisions to come to one successful entrepreneurial venture. And the best thing that you all can do right now is try everything right now. If you all have an idea, just go for it.
Yes, definitely. And I think internships and doing on-the-job training is really important.
Definitely. I did 4 internships in my 3 years at HR college. So it was very hectic for me, but yeah, it was a lot of fun as well.
Yes. So thanks a lot, Vedant. And I would request Professor Rifa Patel to please propose the vote of thanks.
Hello, everyone. On behalf of college, I would like to thank the speaker for today, Mr. Vedant. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences on retail with us, and you speaking about all the innovations in retail, and it was very interesting. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences with us. You got the class so interesting, like right from the start when you started the quiz, and it was very interesting throughout till the end. It was so interesting. You kept the students engaged throughout, and congratulations on your stuff. We as college feel really proud when our students do so well in life, and apologies for the annotations. Thank you so much, Vedant, for taking out time for this. Then I would like to thank our principal, Dr. Pooja Ramchandani, for giving us this opportunity. We'd like to thank Professor Kanupriya ma'am for organizing all of this. The technical team, especially, they were working so hard. I would like to thank Vidhi Jain, Anahita Hirani, and Nishan. Last but not the least, all the students, thank you so much. So interactive, and that's it. Take care, all of you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, everyone, and hope it was some learning for you all.
Yes, and we will invite Vedant again to speak about entrepreneurship. I think that is something which we got a lot of questions.
Definitely.
So it has extremely, and his journey is something which I'm sure a lot of students would like to learn a lot from. Just another announcement: we have a similar, interaction tomorrow with another graduate from HR College, Krish Velkar. He will be talking about sensory marketing. So please make sure that you're there for that as well. We'll be having an interesting topic discussed tomorrow as well. So thank you everyone for joining us, and thank you Vedant especially for taking out time for doing this. I'm sure you have a busy schedule with your own startup, and I'm sure you're working and all of that. So thanks a lot for obliging us with your presence.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, ma'am. Thanks, everyone. See you.
Thank you.